So let's look at some famous books and movies on atheism. Perhaps the most famous of them of all might be The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. In The God Delusion, Dawkins argues that a supernatural creator like God most likely doesn't exist. He says believing in a personal God is a delusion. He quotes Robert Pirsig's famous quote that when one person suffers from a delusion, it is called insanity, but when many people suffer from a delusion, it is called religion. The book has 10 chapters. In the beginning ones, the author argues strongly that God most likely doesn't exist. Later chapters focus on talking about religion and morality. He gives examples showing that people can be good without relying on religion. Overall, it's a great book to help you come out of any religion, not just Christianity. An unauthorized version in Arabic was downloaded more than 3 million times in Saudi Arabia, which speaks volumes about its popularity. It has been translated into 35 languages, which includes Bengali, Tamil and Telugu. There is also an adapted version, Nastiganaya Devam, written by Ravichandran C. in Malayalam. It also led to a deluge of books written against it, like Dawkins Delusion, Devil's Delusion, Darwin's Angel, etc. But none of them could debunk the claims made in the original book. I would rate it as the #1 book on atheism. Dawkins has written another book, Outgrowing God, which is another great literary work. Next in line is God is Not Great, which is the literal opposite of Allahu Akbar, which means God is great. Hitchens wrote that organized religion is aggressive, unreasonable and intolerant. He thought organized religion should feel guilty about a lot of things that it has done in history. A man not known to mince his words, Hitchens has made some critical remarks on religiosity in this book. Now, if you go a little back in history, another good book on rationalism is Bertrand Russell's Why I Am Not a Christian. Russell questions the morality of religion, which, in his view, predominantly is based on fear. Russell starts by explaining what it means to be a Christian. He then explains why he doesn't believe in these ideas and why he doesn't consider himself as a Christian. Then Ibn Barak wrote Why I Am Not a Muslim, which was a critique on Islam and the Quran. He claims he mainly wrote this as he was angered by the fatwa and threats against Salman Rushdie, whose book The Satanic Verses also deserves a mention in this list. But alas, that book is banned in this country. Breaking the Spell is a book written by Daniel Dennett, who, along with Hitchens, Dawkins and Sam Harris, form the 4 horsemen of atheism. In this book, Dennett argues that religion should be studied scientifically to understand its nature and what might happen to it in the future. Another good book worth your reading time is The End of Faith by Sam Harris. The End of Faith opens with a literary account of a day in the life of a suicide bomber, his last day. Harris then goes into a brief history of Christianity down the ages, examining the Inquisition, the persecution of witches and Jews. Sam Harris also makes a strong criticism of Islam, calling it as a cult of death. He connects Islamic teachings to terrorist attacks like the 9/11, citing quotes from Quran that endorse violence. He followed this up with another book, Letter to a Christian Nation, which he wrote in response to his first book. Now, how can I ignore the famous Carl Sagan, whose famous work, The Pale Blue Dot, inspired this channel's name? He has also written some fantastic books such as The Demon Haunted World and The Cosmos. These are not outrightly atheistic in nature, but it aims to explain the scientific method to the common man and to encourage people to learn critical and skeptical thinking. The Atheist Guide to Christmas is a book written by 42 well-known atheists, including celebrities, comedians, scientists, and writers. They share both humorous and some serious advice on how to celebrate and enjoy the Christmas season from an atheist perspective. This is one book that you can gift your atheist friend this Christmas. Another book is Why People Believe Weird Things by Michael Shermer. This is a book that deserves to be read. Skeptics and critical thinkers can learn from it. But more importantly, it's a book to give those who maybe aren't as skeptical as you, especially to those who need some clear and reasonable arguments to gently push them to think in a more critical direction. James Randi is another great author whose works Flim-Flam, an encyclopedia of claims, frauds and hoaxes of the occult and supernatural are great reads. Now if all these hasn't made you an atheist, then there are some notable suggestions like Wrestling with God, The God Virus, The God Problem, Everything You Know About God Is Wrong, God Hates You, Losing Faith in Faith and Leaving the Fold.